Hi, I wanted to give you a brief overview of my Ruby on Rails project. I did a packing list generator that maintains users and trips and the associated packing lists for each of those trips that a user enters. As you can see, we begin at the welcome controller. That's the root the root route of this project, and it exists merely to send you to the home page. Here it is, and on the home page, in the case that you haven't logged in yet, this is what you see, and the layout that drives this is right here. We've got the nav bar and a header partial. That header partial puts in either these buttons or just sign out, and the home button, of course, depending on whether you're signed in yet or not. But let's go ahead and sign in. I created a fictitious account and .com and my password, and I log in. Now, once I'm logged in, I'm seeing these buttons at the, these buttons at the top if the user's signed in. And this is basically the real home page of the project. So going back to the home page, you have two things here. A list of your existing trips and the ability to add a new one. So maybe that's three things. And also categories, which are whatever you've created across time. And this allows you to look at like trips, to look at what you've taken with you in the past, which I think makes things much easier. Now, if we want to add a trip, what we are doing here is going to the new trip path. And really what we need to do is look at the trips controller. And the trips controller really does do most of the work of this project, because the user can have many trips. But once you get past that relationship, everything kind of revolves around the trips. The trips have many items, and the trips belong to a category, but a category also has many trips. So let's maybe look at the models next. The user has many trips and has many categories through trips. So they're going to have many categories depending on what category of trips they've gone on. In trips, they have they belong to a user and they belong to a category, and they have many items through a joins table. Items themselves have many trips through that joins table, and categories have many trips and have many items through those trips. So that's the basic layout of the application. In the trips controller, when you get to the new, you're going to go to the new trips view. In the new trips view, there's two different parts. The first part is that you're going to see what is the form. And the form allows you to enter title. This is the form partial, I should have said. This is, you can enter the title, the destination, the year, and any notes if you so desire. The notes are optional. The other three parts are validated and must be there. So going back to that, then the bottom part right here is that you also, oops, I'm in the wrong section. There, no, we're adding a trip, so we're in new trips. Here we go. The other thing that you're going to see is categories, and the categories are allowing you to either select a category that you've already picked or enter a new category and then create the trip. And it also, in this form, checks to make sure whether any errors have come up, and if so, it renders those errors on the page so that you see, what you did wrong, and brings you back to the same page to try again. Going back to the home page, let's look at an existing trip that I have added. If you click on a link of that trip, that takes you to a trip show. And in trip show, you can see that across the top you have the headings, but then the two options that you have in terms of the overall trip is to edit the specifics of the trip, meaning the title, the year, the destination, or the category. Let's go ahead and do that. If we edit a trip detail, that puts us into the edit view. Within the edit view, you can see that it's loaded in what your current choices are. Let's say that we try to eliminate the name and update. It will not allow us to do it and tells us why that was not acceptable. If we tried to change the year, it's 2011. Let's update it. And that should come up, updated. Did I not click? Oh, there it is. Now it's 2011, and it sends me back to the show page. So let's go back to the show page. Also, within a trip, you can display just the final list. You might not want to see all this other stuff if you're packing, so you can go to display list, and that shows you the items and the titles. From this, you can pick an item. So here we've gone, we went to edit, we were in show, we were in this display list area, which took us to our items paths, because now we're going to the items controller and the items views. And here we're looking at the index. So it's the trips items though, and as you can see by the routing, it's nested. And I can go back to show all the details again where I just was. That's basically a back button. I can go home, or I can drill into a given item. And within that item, if I do that, then I'm in items edit. In items edit, I have three choices. I can update the item, I can delete the item, or I can go back to the list again. And then I can go back to my full trip. And the full trip details allows me to update everything. Now, so we're back into trips show, and we're going to look at the items list itself. The items add, which is another partial. Items add items. Here we go. This is that partial, which is a display of the collection of items that have been put in all city trips by you, so by user. And if I look at this, I'm trying to see, okay, I haven't, let's look at a different trip because there's some that I haven't added so many to. Let's go back to home. If I was looking at March break 2017, no, let's look at when we haven't added anything in. Go back one more time. If instead we pick something like hiking in Wyoming, this is when we haven't added anything in. So there's no items here to add because we haven't yet added. This is the first hiking trip, so there are no hiking items, and we haven't added anything to this trip, so there are no items yet to pack. So we might add hiking boots. If we add that, it's going slow because of the video happening at the same time. So, you know, it doesn't go slow like this in real life. There, now I've got hiking boots, and the quantity 1 is the default. Again, going back home. Now, if I were to add another trip where I was going to go hiking, hiking in Patagonia, and I had a typo there, hiking in Patagonia. It's in Argentina, and I'm going in 2018. Feed the cat before I go. The cat. And now I can pick an existing category or add a new category, but in this case, it's a hiking trip. So I'm going to add that hiking trip, and as you will see, I have an item that's a hiking item to choose from. So I can just add the hiking boots like I had in my other hiking trip, or not, you know, whatever you want to do. But that means for a hiking trip in Argentina, it's not going to show you a bathing suit from your beach trip. You can add a bathing suit, but it's not going to be an expected item that you would take. And so I can go ahead and add that item. So again, having gone to this add items section, I also have back in the show page here, error checking for all pages. So every page checks its errors and renders them onto the views if they are found. So in general, we're going from the home page to the trip show page when you select one. You can look at all the items in a given trip, and you can also look at your categories, and I should go back and show you that too. So they're within the category controller. If I go back to home, now I can say, let's look at all my city trips. And that is taking you to the category controller, which is right here. And really your only option there is a show page, and the show page shows you the trips within the category you just selected, and it also has links to all the categories so that you can jump around easily. And you can add a trip from this page and of course go back to home again and look at the other categories or the whole list of trips, because the whole list of trips is on the home page. that really, in a nutshell, is the guts of my program, of my application, and or my project. I have a few different model methods that you can use, model class methods, and for instance, uh, a user trips in category. You can use that from another view to get the trips in a given category, because the category has many trips and the user has many trips. So this method selects the trips in a given category for a given user. The trip model has a few different methods. And the item category has a method, and beyond the custom setter that it has for the nested attributes. Well, I hope that's a good overview. Rev it up, play with it. I think you'll like it. I hope you will anyway. I do. And I think I'm going to use it because I'm going on a trip. Oh, no, wrong thing. Oh, wrong thing. My computer's very glitchy.